Hello from Norway.
Yeah, can we start speaking? Bente, thank you so much for finding the time to join the workshop. We've just lost her. No, there she is, yeah.
It is very difficult for me to hear you. The echo is dominant.
In any case, Bente, you're going to be speaking, so we can hear you very clearly.
I hear half of what you're saying, but I'm trying to... But could you please talk more slowly? Yes, thank you.
Can you see us? Can you see the group?
Yes, I see the group. Hello, everybody. How are you?
We've had our first half day of the workshop, and we've been able to share the earlier work that ICOMOS India had done with ICOMOS Norway about 4 years ago. And the entire group here is very keen to hear from you about the RBA's history and where we hope to go with this work. And two of the deans from the Jindal Global University are here. There's Professor Sudarshan, who heads the School of Public Policy and Governance, and Thomas Government, and Thomas McKell from the School of Architecture. So the two executives. So over to you, Beth.
Thank you very much, Honorable members of the university, dean, professors, students, dear everybody. If I understood you right, Gurmeet, you asked me to tell what has happened since we had contact in 2014 and 15. Is that correct? Yes. So what you all know, if I might hold up here are the summing up, the reports published on the with Peter Bille Larsen and me, and with the author Peter Bille Larsen and Amund Sinding Larsen, that was released in Krakow in 2017. And as you know, Gurmeet Rai is one of the authors of the case studies, and also a part of the working group for our common dignity. The initiative of our common dignity was to focus on right issues in World Heritage. And we started in 2007 in Norway due to several alerts regarding right issues in World Heritage. And we expanded into a cooperation of the three advisory bodies to the World Heritage Convention, namely ICOMOS, IUCN, and ICROM in 2011 in a workshop we had in Oslo. And from there we have been cooperated, exchanging ideas, and tried to show best practice of heritage management and right issues. And we have also cooperated with several academic institutions, one of them being the Norwegian Center of Human Rights, which resulted in a training held in 2017 in Norway at the University of Oslo, where Gurmeet also was. Gurmeet would like to say something. Is that?
Sorry for the interruption. There was Peter trying to come online, so I thought it was a good idea to merge the call, but it seems you've gone off. Betsy, you can carry on, but in case Peter dials in again, can I request our technician to merge the two calls so that you and Peter are there at the same time? Did you get that?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. It's difficult for me to distinguish what you say. The line is not good.
This line is not good. Where do I see?
Use the mic.
Yeah, much better, much better.
So Peter is trying to dial in as well. So I was just indicating to the technician to merge the two calls so that Peter
Excellent.
and you can be there at the same time. So in case he calls in again.
He's supposed to start in
Yeah.
10 minutes.
So आप अपने आप कर सकते हो call? So then both can be there at the same time. So then we don't have to just. हाँ? अच्छा ऐसा अपने आप नहीं कर सकते. तो आप यहाँ बैठिए. अगर वो फिर से call करते तो आप watch करें.
You sit there.
I see.
Contact the guy.
You sit here.
Okay. आप लोग बैठिए. Betsy, please continue. In case he calls, please do that.
Catch him.
Yeah, then we have a Peter. Hello, Peter, are you with us?
Betsy, not yet. He'll have to join in again.
Nothing.
Not yet.
So,
Okay, because Peter, he has been a consultant to the group for nearly 10 years, and he has a long experience in working with human rights approaches through ICOMOS and through his academic career. And when we hold first training in Oslo, as you remember, Gurmet, it was Stene and also Peter who were putting up the course. And continued in 2018 in South Africa, and last training carried out by the two was in Estonia now late May. So we have quite an experience now in how to explain international human rights law, cooperating on each place with national lawyers, because it's important that we have the international networks, but we also need to, when working with state parties, national lawyers and human rights lawyers, heritage lawyers, and government lawyers are that important to us as partners. So we cannot carry through our task without knowing both the human rights law, international human rights law, and the national legislation to carry through a human rights-based approach, which is based on the understanding of who are the duty bearers, who are the responsible for the heritage, and who are the right holders, be they collective or individual. Who are they? How do we deal with them? How are we expected to deal with them in a just and transparent manner that is adapted both to our obligations as mainly duty bearers when working with heritage, and what may the right holders expect from us regarding both the national and international obligation that we have. And I'm happy to tell you that with the last submission with your support from University of General University, we have submitted a proposal to IUCN for the World Congress in Marseille in 2020. I'm happy to know that your dean is one of the key persons that might help carry through that event. Provided we are accepted, there are 1,400 submission, deadline yesterday, and 300 slots. Mm.
Maybe one question I had regarding, that intervention that was being made by the working group on the operational guidelines for the 43rd World Heritage Committee meeting that was held in Baku. So, what is the status with that?
The status for that is that we managed to influence the final decision, but it is not yet published because it needs to be translated and washed. The wording needs to be washed. But I know that the Norwegian delegation worked together with the 3-hour working group, with Rin from Estonia, Adriana from Uruguay, and Laura from South Africa, and the author from Norway. They were working together on that. So we definitely are looking into the operational guidelines and try to safeguard the right issues are included in appropriate manner.
Oh, wonderful. That's really good news. So by when will we get to see the document? Is there a deadline, a date that they've projected?
I will have contact with ICOMOS today, and I will know within our next virtual meeting, the 29th of July.
Okay. So, Sudarshan, would you like to ask some questions regarding the training material, or do you want to come here and ask?
One of the things the university, the three schools, the School of Art and Architecture, the School of Government and Public Policy, and the School of Liberal Arts and Humanities in our university, we agreed that we would work on developing some training manuals. Now, one of the things that there's been a greater focus on rights bearers in a rights-based approach in most projects that I'm familiar with, empowering disadvantaged people and safeguarding their rights. But not enough work has been done in developing the capacities of the duty bearers to be responsive to rights holders. These are institutions, government departments, international organizations. So I think we need to focus on capacity development training to sensitize these institutions and people in those institutions to uphold the rights-based approach, to improve accountability to people and to observe standards. One of the neglected aspects, it seems to me, is that the international community has gone to great lengths setting standards. What is a standard for housing? What is a standard for the right to food? Now, knowledge about human rights standards in institutions that are the duty bearers is rather scanty. And we'd like to address that as part of this 3-year program that we envisage. So I'd like to know if there's any work that you've done in Norway or other countries addressing duty bearers and their obligations.
Yes, because they were the main target groups of these three trainings in Norway, South Africa, and Estonia. So the main target group was professional practitioners, World Heritage practitioners, and we are the duty bearers. And in Estonia, there were an impressive participation from down to the Secretary of State until the Director of the Heritage Board of Estonia. So I think that we have the training is made up for them as the main target group. So we have what you asked for at the beginning, but it always needs to be adopted to the national organizations, and so that's why each training was organized by the National ICOMOS Committee, knowing their national partners.
Yes.
And one of the trainers was Peter, now waiting on the line, so he might fill in and explain to you, and he has already set up a course or training for that.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Any other question? Does anybody have a question to Bente?
Okay.
But he says that he'll have to call in. He can't merge from this side. So Bente, the only way to merge Peter's call would be to disconnect your call
Yes?
call him in and then call you, and then if you can call back, if you can call back in the next 5 minutes or something like that. Is that possible? Do you have another 15 minutes?
This is fine. Thank you very much and good luck. It's a beautiful initiative. Wishing you enormous success.
All right. Thank you, Bente.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Hello?
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we made use of technology and merged this call. We've got a group here with both of you at the same time. So sorry for calling you in sooner, Eddie. But we thought,
That's okay.
yeah,
Oh, it's cutting up now.
that's okay. Okay. And there's Bente as well. So
Hello.
that's impressive. Okay. So now we've had 15 minutes of a conversation with Bente, and Peter, there were these specific questions to you regarding training from the Dean of the School of Public Policy and Government, the Jindal Global University. And again, we just thought that if you're on online, then we won't have repetition, and you'll be able to, kind of see what the interest is and the queries. Yeah. So, where's Peter?
I'm here, but sorry, the connection seems to be cutting up a bit. I have tried to find the best internet connection in town, and this is the best I can muster this time. I'm on holiday, so but I'm not sure. I just cut my picture in order to better listen to what we were saying.
Yeah.
So I'll try to contribute as best as possible.
Thanks, Peter. We can hear you very clearly, so I think we
That's
can.
good.
Yeah, we can continue the conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
So over to you, Peter.
Sorry. Yes. Yes, I'm not sure where to start. As it was cutting off, I just want, if you briefly, Gurmeet, could give me a couple of leads, and I'll take it from there.
Peter, Bente has just told the group here about the initiative of RBA and our common dignity since the last few years.
Yes.
And we stopped at the point where the conversation was about training and capacity building of the duty bearers.
Yes.
And so we are very keen that we get to hear from you on that, because the whole objective of this workshop is to, over the 2 days, develop the roadmap for collaborative work between the Jindal Global University and ICOMOS India.
Okay, so I'll take it from there. Thanks a lot, Gurmeet.
And Peter, we'd also like your input on what you think this roadmap should have and what your ideas on that, because that would help us.
Okay.
All right, great.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for this opportunity to discuss with I've always found you to be a fantastic group of people in ICOMOS India. Extremely happy with collaboration we've had, Gurmeet, and also with Rohit and other colleagues from ICOMOS India over the years. So I think this is, once again, you're spearheading work here, and clearly your work at the General Assembly also showed that you're taking this very seriously at different levels. So thank you for that, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to contribute. I do think it's extremely timely and extremely relevant at the international level. We've seen this to be an issue, that the issue is no longer just about setting the norms and the ideals for where we should be going, but actually enabling duty bearers, but also rights holders. So this is perhaps a conversation we can have for your roadmap, to be able to really engage with rights-based approaches, engage with human rights, the full range of them, and engage with them, work toward their implementation in different heritage contexts. And I'd like to stress different heritage contexts, again, with a chapeau to Bente and the whole group working around the Our Common Dignity approach, because the really strategic interest in saying we're not only dealing with World Heritage issues here, but more fundamentally with the broad range of heritage categories and contexts, and rights are relevant across the full range, I think has been extremely inspiring. And it's something that we've also tried to think about and deal with in the kinds of rights-based training that, for example, we took up in Estonia recently. So whereas historically, for both political and strategic and, let's say, focus reasons, our common dignity was very much focused on World Heritage. That remains extremely relevant. But there's also, of course, the broader range of wider national heritage categories. We shouldn't forget that. So I think that's already a strategic discussion you might want to have at ICOMOS India together with university colleagues is, do you want to sort of address the full range, focus more narrowly, and so on. I would say, as always, go for both of them, because you have the potential. And again, I think we have a lot to learn in the world also from experiences in India in many ways. And that's something I can only again confirm how the great interest I've had also listening to you, Gurmeet, in many cases from your hands-on experience in dealing with issues, whether it be in India or Nepal or elsewhere. So I've really learned a lot from that. So I think that's something that you might also want to keep in mind, is also how the world can learn from your experiences. Now, okay, so if we start with the World Heritage, clearly I think there have been a number of issues in the Indian context. You had a national meeting a couple of years ago that identified some issues. I was inspired by the fact that you were able to bridge both the nature field and the cultural field. This is something obviously that's being done in other regional contexts as well. So I hope it's something that you can think about and consider also in work. And there I remember, for example, very good connections with the Retreat Center. I have a blank now memory of a gentleman we were talking a lot with there, but an old IUCN colleague and friend, or connected to the IUCN network, with whom you also established very good contacts. So I'm wondering if this is also something you can consider for your initiative, to both bridge the nature and the cultural fields and rights-based work. That's another point I want to raise. So back to the World Heritage angle. I have had conversations over the years with you and others where there are a number of issues that come up. Of course, when we're talking about human rights issues, a lot of this is way beyond, one might say, or connects to wider national developments and questions. We've seen, if I recall correctly, in the recent months or a couple of years at least, conversations about issues of forest peoples and rights in India that have been, quite significant. Questions of evictions, questions of recognizing customary rights, that clearly would seem to indicate that this is a topic nationally, and then in second round, of course, also a topic for the World Heritage community in India to say, well, how can we perhaps move forward on some of these rights issues that are clearly somehow affecting wider social equality, inclusion issues in the country, and what can we do from the World Heritage community to contribute to solutions in that respect? There are many others. I remember conversations recently with an Indian colleague also about the situations of politics and polarization that affects all of us, also in India. And there again, the question is, to what extent are we able as a World Heritage community to offer alternatives to these kinds of polarized politics, of heritage being co-opted by very powerful actors and leaving the weak behind, no? So in that respect, I think that's really something where I think, again, the world can learn from India, because you're facing some of these issues, and it'll be very interesting also to see the kinds of possible responses and solutions you have to these kinds of polarized politics, which again is unfortunately something that we see all over the place, North America, Europe, Africa, etc. Polarization is extremely virulent and affecting clearly also our heritage practices, and we need to find ways to deal with that. No, so that's another topic I think is really interesting. But so I think there's a whole group of issues where the matter of World Heritage comes in, because it's such a potentially potent symbol for political action as well. We also need to see how can those kinds of politics be used for inclusion rather than exclusion. No, and that's really something that I think that and it's an important topic, and that's why, especially in the World Heritage context, that becomes extremely important. I was just reading, as you may, IUCN's evaluation of this year's meeting in Baku, which some of you attended. And I believe that again, we saw the issue of science and expert opinion being sidelined by political maneuvering in the World Heritage Committee and so on. So we know that's that's clearly undermining our system. Now, we then have two options. We either abandon the system and say, well, this is completely not functioning, we need something else, or we try to fix it. And I think a lot of us are saying that let's give this, try to fix it a chance, and fixing it perhaps may also come from national level efforts to create, sound systems where international systems clearly aren't showing the way as they should. And this is, I think, as seen in many other contexts, where national leadership from organizations like ICOMOS and partner organizations like your university have an option to create sound solutions where the international system, isn't really delivering what it's supposed to deliver on. And I think this is really where the big picture is right now. So that's for the World Heritage side. I would say your country is huge. It's diverse. It's in many ways one of my favorite places. Although I haven't been there for a few years now, but I feel that I would also like to say that can we learn from your broader heritage experiences and engagement and rights and those. That's very often a topic that's sidelined or forgotten because everyone's focusing on the few and most interesting places, and that's a pity. I mean, so much can be done with other heritage categories, and as if the only thing that matters is World Heritage is, of course, extremely problematic. Increasingly so because we also see heritage recognition as World Heritage creating problems as much as it creates solutions. So I think, substantive work to explore alternatives dealing with rights in other heritage contexts and with other categories will be very important. That's something I think, again, where, things can be done, and I would encourage you to explore that. As I don't know how much time I've left, maybe a few minutes. In that case, as for your roadmap, this is obviously something that you will have to consider depending on your resources and your immediate low-hanging fruits and interests and so on. I would say that, what would I say on that front? It's difficult to really judge from outside. They're huge. I guess one key point for me, which is something that we spoke a lot about with Amundsen Larsen also, who was a friend of many of you as well, was, are we reaching out to the right people with our capacity building work? And in the capacity building work over the past few years, we dealt with a number of heritage practitioners. We dealt with members from the advisory bodies, IUCN, ICOMOS, and ICROM. We didn't deal a lot with local communities, representatives from indigenous peoples and local communities and so on. And in a sense, that's of course a pity, because they're the ones who really, in many ways, are in a playing field where they have little resources and capacity to actually engage. Now, it's very difficult one of the reasons why I think that didn't really come on the agenda in those years was also a matter of prioritization and the difficulty of dealing with rights holders when you're working at the international level. I mean, you can in some cases have very active people that are easy to identify, that can be invited, who speak English or other sort of international languages, French, and so on. But in many cases, local rights holders will not necessarily be able to sort of engage in that way. That is a different case when you're dealing with a national context. Although, of course, in a context like India, of course, you're dealing with such a diversity of languages as well, that the same problem easily poses as it might at international level. But still, I do think that it's something that would be very interesting to explore. Again, also recognizing the amazing Indian experiences with grassroots support, mobilization, and so on in many sort of heritage and development contexts. I think we could learn a lot from looking at what could be done to create learning tools, target capacity building for rights holders. And I think you have many experiences to draw upon, both as individual heritage practitioners, but also in perhaps drawing upon capacity building from other fields, and perhaps also by engaging other actors that are on this in context. So if I'm to say sort of one point where I'd like to suggest it for your roadmap, that might be one where I think that you will have something innovative to contribute with. And with those words, I need to get a sip of my coffee, and thank you for your time. I think my 15 minutes are up, but I'm happy to respond to any questions or thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, any quick questions to Peter? But Peter, your ideas and what you've shared is of a lot of help and giving us more ideas. Share some audios. So, Darshan, would you want to say something? I mean,
No, I just wondered if you could share with us some training modules so that we get an idea of the kind of training programs that you conduct.
The training modules that we have used, you mean in Estonia, for example, or
Yes.
South Africa, or which training modules are you interested in?
Anything to do with training people in government and duty bearers.
Okay. Well, that I would say we haven't actually. Okay. Well, yeah. I can share with you what we worked on with ICOMOS South Africa. I would say, again, it's been very global or regional, and actually, I would say that if you want to do something specifically for duty bearers in a specific national context, you need to be much more tuned in to national policies and build up capacity building around national human rights obligations, specific national heritage legislation. Am I coming through, or is it cutting up?
That's fine. No,
Okay.
we will do that, of course, but we wanted the general principles.
Okay,
So
sure.
that, it fits into the parameters of a rights-based approach. So it's the more the general principles that we can contextualize for the context in India.
Okay, sure. Again, that's fine. Although I would say for me rather than sort of a one-size-fits-all that's kind of adapted, I do think there's an important piece of work to do in as you say, contextualizing, and that should really be the prime focus. So that would be my only comment on that front. Yeah.
May I add, Peter, here?
Please.
Because for as I read the programs and the three trainings we had, it's always started with the introduction of international human rights laws and the principles, and then adding this from a national perspective from the participants, and then with some case studies to try to demystify human rights-based approaches. This is, for me, three main steps that I think that has been carried through, and it seems like that has been well received.
Yes, perhaps the other learning approach that we've used, of course, is experience sharing. I would say though that in all cases, very often this is a fairly new terrain, or the linkages aren't necessarily made immediately. So there's a bit of there is a bit of let's say digging work to be done. I was just with a bunch of archaeologists, and they do a whole lot of digging, and I think there's a bit of digging work to done to uncover those linkages between heritage and rights, which are very often buried under layers of legislation and whatnot, no, and silo tendencies among institutions. So I'm just wondering if the reason why I think, as you say, Benda, I think, yes, you can introduce the international framework, move down to the national framework, and then explore case studies. That is one way. I'm not sure it's the only way. That's the only thing I'm saying. I'm just wondering, it's really something to be sensitive to the specific national context and figure out also, I think, where there are openings for where people many times also, I would say, where the issues and conflicts to start with. No, that's what people are dealing with in their everyday work and need to solve. So are we able to actually jump in and create opportunities where they're dealing hands-on issues, or are we trying to sort of, a complete new way of working that's somehow disconnected? So the only thing I'm saying is, if I had a week with a bunch of government officials, I'm just wondering whether I would actually, from one specific country, I'm wondering whether I would start with the international. But I guess in any case, it would be useful to have that there. Yes.
Peter, I recall the workshop that you conducted with us, the alumni of Unitar, where we brought our case studies and we were examining our case studies through the lens of
Yes.
I thought that was a very, very interesting way of, almost doing a postmortem on our site management plans. So I think that this is where I think EGE comes in now, because I think that was an interesting technique of examining the site management plans and identifying the gaps. That lens
Yes.
of the SDGs was very, very useful to examine rights.
Yes. No, I agree. If you're actually sitting, the people you have in the room are the ones that are actually site managers, that's a good place to start for sure. I guess you might not only have site managers sitting in the room, but I agree with you. If you have people that can actually go back and look at their site management plans, with some kind of conceptual framework that allows them, to look at how they're doing in different rights areas. That is one way of going about it for sure. And there we've had mixed results in terms of getting people to do their homework before the meetings. Sometimes it's of course, partly for different reasons. One is that people are busy. Two is they're not quite sure where to start with. But trying to get people to actually respond to a specific set of questions and issues in their specific case, or a hypothetical case that they choose if they're not connected to one, is of course a nice learning approach. Again, all of this is I don't know, very context specific. So it might also be that you would want a more clear, simple framework to work with if you're talking. I don't know how long a learning period you're thinking of. I mean, you can easily work on this for a year, as you can it can be limited to a couple of days. So it also depends a bit upon your timing framework that you're considering.
Got it. Thank you. So can I introduce Eddie, or would you like to introduce yourself? So Peter, thank you so much. If you'd like to hang
All right.
out there, it would be wonderful. If you need to go and have your coffee, then
Okay, I think I have another 20 minutes if it's useful. I'll hang on for that period and jump in if needed.
okay. Thank you so much, Peter. Yeah. So after Eggie's
Hello, I just got some water. Speaking about coffee. Is it over to me? Hello?
Hello, Eggie. We can hear you. We're here.
Thank you very much, Gurmeet. So, how would you like me to present actually any specific focus points, or have you talked a little bit about our group, or should I go from the beginning?
Again, we need to, your voice is breaking a little bit in the middle of it. So do you want to switch off the video and then we can check whether the sound works better like that?
Let me see. Is the sound better now?
Yes.
Much better. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, okay.
Though we'll miss your lovely face, but then I think we'll look at it later.
Okay. So, well, let me start from the beginning, I guess. Maybe what I can also do is I have a couple of things I might want to show, and then I open it and I close again. So, thank you very much again. It's very nice to be with you guys all virtually. I feel a little bit uneasy. I'm not sure you can hear me or what's going on actually. Can you hear me still?
I don't know, for some reason the voice is breaking again. Okay, what should we be doing now?
Let's see how we can improve.
It gets a little sharp in the middle, no? This is Ben.
Hello?
Ben has put that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speak. We'll only make out when you're speaking. I'll let you know. I'll interrupt in case we think something's going wrong. But start. Please do start.
Okay. Well, I'm Ege Yildirim, the ICOMOS SDG focal point since 2016. And I should introduce the subject of the SDG in terms of how we work with it, and the main points of our activities and some ideas going forward for in ICOMOS India as a national committee and their collaboration with Jindal University. So, as you all, I suppose, know by now, the United Nations has declared its post-2015 development agenda, Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, or the global goals, in 2015 September. This was inherited from the MDG, Millennium Development Goals. And the new focus here really might be that it is a very inclusive agenda, not focusing on just the least developed countries or a very basic human development like poverty and hunger. But, this is an agenda for all the world's countries, all of the world's people. It's much more inclusive this time because developing and developed countries, they all are part of the equation. We are part of each other's problems and solutions. And the motto in Agenda 2030 is about people, planet, prosperity. You could add peace to that as well. And the crises that have really come to a boiling point in the world about planetary boundaries being pushed to the limit, the pace of change being intolerable, climate change on biodiversity loss, urbanization. These problems have now reached situation where we don't have much to leave for future generations, it seems, unless we really step up our acts very quickly. And 2030, the year, only 11 years away now. Can you still hear me?
Betsy, just a second. Can we dial your number again because maybe we get a better reception with that.
Okay.
Yeah, let us just try that. Betsy, is it okay?
She's on mute.